Good day, everyone. My name is Miko Agustin Baez, your instructor in Humanities 9, Logic. Today, let me present to you the introduction of our lesson. First, let's talk about philosophy and its nature. We can define the word philosophy in two fashions. First, etymologically, and the second one is classically. Etymologically speaking, philosophy comes from the two Greek words philos and sophia. The word philos means love, and the word sophia means wisdom. So if we combine the two, we can literally say that philosophy is the love of wisdom. On the other hand, classically speaking, philosophy deals on investigating the real essence and the ultimate causes of things. It searches on all things and probes the depth into the nature of reality. Philosophy, by discipline, wants to investigate every aspect of human existence. It wants to answer every questions that will be raised for it to be able to understand its depth and lead that to the nature of its reality. Both the etymological and classical definitions shows that philosophy is an investigation through constant inquiry, curiosity, and wonder. As human being, it is our nature to be curious. It is our habit to wonder. We always investigate through constant inquiry. So, with the combination of the etymological and classical definition, the aim of philosophy seems to point on answering different questions, unfolding different answers. But it is not only concerned with questions, but it also verifies the answers to questions raised. Here we can see a cycle. In philosophy, investigating the nature and the causes of things by constant inquiry and curiosity and wonder will give us answer. But one answer is not enough. We need to look for different answers and compare among those answers. We will verify among those answers what will give us the more accurate and that will lead us to reality. The cycle starts from asking questions, determining the answers, and then verifying the answers. And after that, asking a question again. And that is a cycle. Philosophy wants to answer everything. According to Socrates, the unexamined life is not worth living. What does he mean? If we don't examine our life, we are not worthy of it. If we don't examine our life, it will be taken back to us or taken back from us. Socrates wants us to understand philosophy when he say the unexamined life is not worth living. It will boil down to the essence of philosophy of examining, investigating, and answering different questions and validating the answers and doing it again by asking another question. We keep on examining our life to give it worth. We continue being curious. We continue to wonder. For us to examine our life. For us to determine different answers to the questions we raise. In that manner, we are examining our life and we are giving it worth. That's what Socrates tells us. Because if we don't examine our life, maybe we are not worthy of having it. So simple. Examine it through answering questions, validating the answers, and ask question again and again. For as long as we keep ourselves near, or at least in the reality, that's the justification that we are indeed examining our life, that we are indeed giving it worth. Because if we don't, for Socrates, we don't deserve our life if we do not examine it. Now, since our subject is logic, where can we find logic in philosophy? Here we have philosophical sciences. Cosmology, the study of the nature of inanimate being or universe. Ethics, study of the nature of morality of human acts. Social or political philosophy, the study of man, his place in society and existing relationship in various social institutions. Theodicy, the study of the essence and existence of God, based mainly on reason. Aesthetics, the study of beauty, its nature, and appreciation. Rational philosophical psychology, the study of the life principle, particularly that of the psychological aspect of man. Metaphysics, the study of being and its essence of being. Epistemology, the study of the certainty of human knowledge. Philosophy of man, study on the nature and essence of human being and the relationship his or her own self and with other human beings. And of course, logic, the study of the nature of correct reasoning. It has a simple meaning, the study of the nature of correct reasoning, but correct reasoning itself will give us multiple question marks. How can we say that the reasoning is correct? What are the methods we should use to come up with the correct reasoning? What are the standards? What are the wrong? For us to determine which among the reasoning is indeed the correct or the incorrect reasoning. That is logic. And here, in this subject, we will analyze, unfold, how can we determine the standards of a correct reasoning, the methods of a correct reasoning, and be able to apply those on our own reasoning. The nature of logic. Logic is the study of sound reasoning sound. Because in the first place, by merely listening to a person to reason out, how can you say that that person tells you a good reasoning or a sound reason? This one deals with the study of the methods and principles which are used to distinguish from incorrect reasoning. By knowing the methods, by knowing the principles of a correct reason or a sound reason, what sound reasoning sounds, we can distinguish that from the incorrect reasoning if we know the methods and the principles of the correct one. Another one, logic is commonly defined also as the science and art of correct reasoning. It is a science and the art of correct reasoning. Why? It is a science because it furnishes man with systematized body of knowledge guided by the principles and rules of correct thinking. In the first place, we cannot come up with a correct reason if we don't know how to correctly think. Our thinking should be guided by the principles and the rules. Since we are a systematized body of knowledge based on science, it will help our thinking to be correct. And on the latter, correct thinking will breed a correct reasoning. Logic is also an art because it involves the construction of valid and true arguments with the least possible error, only if perfection is achievable. Whenever we make art, whenever we draw something, we want it to be beautiful. We want it to be clean. We want it to be as exactly as our subject, as well as our reasoning. In logic, we create reasons that are valid, that are well constructed with true arguments that avoids any error. Although logic is a branch of philosophy, it is not exclusively for philosophy. As we can see here, it is also part of science. It is also part of art. It is part of every aspect of human life. It has a universal function which can be realized in all forms of human discourses. Meaning, even though it is part of the philosophical sciences, the logic, we can never say that logic is exclusively only for philosophy. Why? Because it has its universal function. Whenever we engage in a discourse, whatever subject matter it is, whatever discipline we talk about, we are always reasoning. Meaning, logic is there. As much as we can, whenever we discourse, we wanted that person that we are talking to understand something from us that will lead them to reality. And that is the essence of logic based on philosophy. But whether we talk about philosophy or other subject matter, it is about how we can create a logical reason, a valid reason, through our correct thinking. Logic also postulates correctness, which means that as a tool, it bridges the gap between truth and absurdity of reality. Logic and reasoning, if we're able to come up with correct reason, it means we can use that as a tool. For what? For us to bridge the gap between the truth and the absurdity of reality. Meaning, we can discern between right or wrong. We can discern between false or correct. And if we can do that, we can point out the reality. We able to close the gap between the truth and the lie by correct reason. Correct when the reasoning conforms to the truth of reality, while incorrect if it is otherwise. We can always say that a reason based on reality will always be correct. Why? Because it is based on reality. Simple, right? And otherwise, if it is not based on reality, simple, that reason is incorrect. Finally, thinking is the workshop of an intellectual mind. It is a mental operation different from all other mental activities like recalling, memorizing, daydreaming, imagining, among others. Thinking, on the other hand, is not a mere mental activity but an operation leading into the attainment of truth or answer. From the beginning of this lesson, we are talking about reality, on how we can attain reality by correct reasoning. But what other mental operation do we need enable for us to really unfold the truth. It is thinking. Not only thinking, but critical thinking. Thinking is not like other mental operation, like recalling, memorizing, or daydreaming, imagining, among others. But thinking, it is a complex operation that will help us attain the answer from every questions we raise. And it shows our intellect. It shows how intelligent we are. By thinking, simply thinking, it will contribute a lot to us. Not only in finding answers, but for us as a whole, as a person. We can see other things different from other people because the way we think is different from other people as well. And with that, we can always come up with correct reasoning, with valid reasoning. Logic is not an end for itself. It is an indispensable tool for one who would aim at developing intellectual skills. With that, logic is not possible in a space without any subject matter. Earlier, I mentioned that logic is not exclusively for philosophy. Because if we don't talk about philosophy, meaning logic is insignificant? No. As long as we discourse about a subject matter, different disciplines, it will always involve logic. It is only through contact with areas of other disciplines, either natural or human sciences, or any form of human activity, that logic becomes significant. With a subject matter, through human discourse, logic will always be significant. Logic will always be there, meaning logic will never find itself to an end. Logic helps students to make valid arguments. How? It develops in particular the habit of critical thinking. Earlier I mentioned that thinking is a very vital tool for us to come up with a good and sound reasoning. And that is correct. If we study logic, it will help us think critically again and again. It therefore makes students who are intellectually independent and critical is not constantly relying on anyone for the right answer. Through critical thinking, we can be intellectually independent. We don't need other people's perception about something because we already make our own correctly. Take note, correctly. Because we already think of that critically. We will not rely on other people to find the right answer because we can find the right answer on our own because we are intellectually independent through critical thinking. And that is one of the most important things that logic can give to us, to help us habitually do critical thinking. And by that, it will make us intellectually independent and critical for looking for the right answer. And that is the end of introduction. I hope you learned something, and thank you for listening. Bye-bye.